The trial of the prosecutor versus Dominic Ongwen resumed after the summer recess from 18th September until 8th October 2018 at the International Criminal Court in The Hague. The proceedings marked the beginning of Dominic Ongwen's defense presentation of evidence before the chamber. The prosecution and the legal representatives of the victims already presented its evidence before the chamber early this year, and now it is the turn of the defense. During this time, a total of 4 witnesses were called by the Ongwen's defense team to give their testimony before the chamber in relation with the Lord's Resistance Army and Dominic Ongwen. Dominic Ongwen, an alleged former commander of the Senior Brigade of the LRA, is accused of 70 counts of war crimes and crimes against humanity, allegedly committed during a widespread and systematic attack directed against the civilian population of northern Uganda from at least 1st July 2002 to 31st December 2005, including the attacks against civilian populations in Lukodi, Pejule, Odek, and Abok IDP camps between October 2003 and June 2004. Since opening of the Ongwen case on 16th January 2017, the prosecution has called 69 witnesses, while the legal representatives of the victims has called 7 witnesses who testified before the chamber. And now, the Ongwen defense team, led by Defense Counsel Crispus Ayena Odongo, presents its witnesses. Before the presentation of witnesses by the defense, Mr. Ayena, Beth Lyons, and Charles Taku presented the Ongwen's defense team opening statements before the chamber. Mr. Ayena talked about Dominic Ongwen, the history of Ugandan politics and how that affected the rise of the LRA in northern part of Uganda. Regarding his client, Dominic Ongwen, Mr. Ayena said,
"Your Honors are faced with the gigantic task to determine a few unfamiliar questions. Firstly, whether the accused qualifies as a victim. If so, whether his victimhood ceased at any time during his captivity under the LRA. Did he, having been a victim, kept under the keen watch of Joseph Kony and his spy network and scare of spiritualism, transcend into a perpetrator? As the accused abducted at the age of 9 and spent nearly 27 years under the vicious grips of the LRA, become an adult in terms of mind transformation. And more poignantly, Your Honors, we'll have to decide whether the accused, like many of his peers, believed in Kony's spiritualism. Did he believe he was helpless under the spell of Kony's spiritualism? If he did, how did it impact on his mind or on his mental disposition? Did it leave him with the presence of mind to act independently as a reasonable man, even after attaining physical adulthood? Much of these, Your Honors, have already been answered by some prosecution witnesses who testified before this court. The defense now only is left with the duty to bring witnesses to show that once captured as a victim, the accused was indoctrinated and made to live by the strict edicts of the LRA based on spiritualism, or die. Period. It will also be shown that Dominic Ongwen was a victim rather than a perpetrator of the political interplay in this conflict between the protagonists. And it is the case of the defense, Your Honors, that once a victim, always a victim. One cannot be a victim and still under the grips of the same system that victimized him become a perpetrator. But before going into any details about Dominic Ongwen, it is instructive to remind this honorable court from the outset that he is before you, Your Honors, not because he was captured, as is being peddled in some quarters. Dominic Ongwen is before you, Your Honors, because he surrendered and gave himself up. And it cannot be overstated that when he surrendered, he was aware of his pending indictment before this court. So, Mr. President, why did he surrender? Your Honors, the reason is well stated by the accused himself. Right from the beginning, during his first interview at the American Army base in the Central African Republic, when he said, "LRA is not my army." Your Honors, what he was referring to was that the charges before this court are against the LRA, and therefore he did not have to fear to appear to exonerate himself before this court.
About Dominic Ongwen's mental health, the defense counsel said,
when we talk about mental disease, as has already been suggested, Professor Moreno Campo, the inaugural chief prosecutor of this court, is on record as having said, Kony is abducting children and transforming them into monsters. By this, he was talking about nothing but the impact of LRA indoctrination and the coercive environment in which the abducted children grew up, which made them monsters. By definition, a monster in the context of this case, Your Honors, is a devil or demon. Mr. Moreno Ocampo was spot on.
Concluding his presentation, Mr. Ayena talked about the history of Uganda, saying that the northern part of Uganda faced a lot of attacks from the Ugandan government, and so the LRA rebel group was formed as a way of protecting the northern Ugandans. Charles Taku and Beth Lyons, other defense counsel for Mr. Ongwen, also took the floor to address modes of liability, matters dealing with fair trial in his case, and finally, mental health of the accused and the duress the accused was under during his time in the LRA. After concluded its opening statements, the Ongwen's defense team presented the defense witnesses who testified in support of their arguments. The first defense witness, Mr. Yusuf Adek, an Acholi cultural leader and a businessman in Uganda, testified on the 1st to the 4th of October 2018 before the chamber. Mr. Adek testified about various issues, which included the history of the war and terror in Uganda, the LRA and Joseph Kony, and several peace talks between the LRA and the government of Uganda. Mr. Adek said that he was born in November 1947 in Gulu, Uganda, and had a wholesale business before it was looted and destroyed. He later turned to farming and selling cattle, but the government took his livestock. Over a period of time, Acholi people, including the witness, lost livestock and other valuable sources of living. The Acholi people formed groups such as Alice Lakwena Group and Joseph Kony's group to protect them from government attacks, the witness added. Regarding Joseph Kony, the witness said that he knew him personally and had interacted with him.
You may remember, Mr. Witness, that we worked together, me and you, for about 2.5 years during the Juba peace talks. So, is it safe to say that you personally know Joseph Kony and a few of his commanders, both dead and still living?
Anonymity. That is correct. That is what I know very well, because I would relate with them, I would talk to them, and they would listen to me. Most especially, Kony would really listen to me even more than his commanders, because of the truth. I always tell him the truth. That is correct.
When you first met Joseph Kony, what impression did he leave on you? What was his personality like?
At the beginning, on the very first occasion that I met him, I did not meet him with soldiers. He came aside and we met under some tree. I asked him questions as I had been told that he was possessed by spirits, and I wanted to find out the truth behind the spirits. He told me that when these spirits possessed him, or when they possess him, he is unaware, but the spirits came as a gift to him. So when I spoke to him, I asked him, and I told him, I said, if you have this gift, use this gift appropriately. Do not use this gift to wreak havoc on people. Because if you use this gift appropriately, then there are chances that it might bring peace and we will welcome you. And that's how I came to know of Kony. And when he informed me of this, I saw his eyes turn red. And he started talking. He started talking a number of things about war, about fighting, telling me that this problem is going to continue in the future. And the UPDA has not welcomed him with open arms. And that is when I started suspecting that perhaps Kony is possessed by something. I'm usually very reluctant to accept things face value, but then I asked him, and I questioned him, and I also asked the people who he had sent and the people that we had met with, and they told me that this is something that happens to him on a daily basis. So I told him that trust the Acholi people. Do not bring anything to the Acholi people that will in the future have severe repercussions on the people. I believe this is what I told him. I told him that if you notice anything bad, anything that I'm telling you, then continue listening to it. But if you are warned, if you are told not to do something, if you are prohibited from doing something, accept it, because accept it as advice, accept it as counsel. And I believe it was because of my approach, the way that the discussions that I had with him, that we created this good rapport. Later, he told me that that there was going to be a ritual performed against him. He said that they needed biotite, that they needed charcoal, and that the ritual was going to take place under some rock. I told him that provided that you follow the rules, then I'm not going to be present. But if you accept, then perhaps on another occasion later on, I'll go and see the location where this ritual was performed. And that's what we discussed.
Mr. Witness, from the way you have answered my previous question, would it be correct to say that you noticed something significantly different about Joseph Kony from the normal person in Acholi land when you met him?
No, I did not just find this, but I knew it. And I realized that whatever it is that Kon says will happen, or his predictions always come true. So I followed this for a long time until the time that we had the peace talks. But usually, his predictions were things that would always come to pass. And I can confirm that other than, but there's also another side of him that is not possessed. That is also something that I can confirm.
Testifying further about Joseph Kony and his LRA commanders, the witness said that he believed that Joseph wasn't military trained, but some commanders who worked under him were trained. The witness had heard about military attributes of LRA commanders such as the accused, Dominic Ongwen.
We could hear about him as a very good fighter. Some of us knew him, but other people who didn't know about him also could hear about him. We don't know what exactly he would do while in battle, but we could really hear how good he was in battle. We could hear how whenever he goes for a battle, he would win.
Did you meet Mr. Ongwen personally, and did you have, or did you talk to him personally on one or several occasions?
We have had time to meet with Ongwen. Would all go to give reports. Would meet, chat, and we kept on meeting, especially during the Juba peace talks.
And what impression did you have? And what kind of person was he in his interactions, in his social interactions with you, for example? You might have covered it, but I think it fits here at the moment.
Well, right now, this court will be a witness. The court Ongwen has been in this court for much longer time than I spent with him. But what I know is every time we were together in the bush, if you don't begin a chat with him, he would not talk. He's a very humble person. And if you look at him, you'd not even see him as a military person. But I think because he has stayed here for a longer time than the time I spent with him, I would spend a few moments with him, but not so long. So I think the court knows him better than I do, but what I know about him is that he's a very humble person who is a bit reserved.
Regarding the Juba peace talks between the LRA and the government of Uganda, the witness said that there were a few issues that had to be discussed before there was a peace agreement in place. Such as issues included stopping hostility between the two sides, both sides taking accountability of the damage of the conflict had had on the region, and disarming the rebel group.
In brief, tell court, first of all, why the war took so long, in your view. Why did the war take so long with all the many peace talks and finally the last peace talks? Who would you place the blame?
I believe that what prolonged the war for so long, first I lived in the area where the war took long. The war was prolonged because they were not managing the war between the two people properly. There was no unity so that they can solve the problem that that brought the war, made the war to prolong. no one was defeating the other. The government wasn't defeating the rebels, and the rebels was not defeating the government, and there was no unity. So these are the things that prolonged the war between the two parties in the conflict in our area. I will repeat these two things. First, the first obstacle was the ICC. Government wants CON to sign, then they take the issue to the Security Council to suspend the issue of the ICC. But CON wanted government to first remove the issue of the ICC, then he signs. And then the second issue was the issue of CON's welfare, which I already talked about. Those two issues were big obstacles to the peace talks.
Mr. De confirmed that he was arrested previously and was called an LRA collaborator because he was in contact with both the Ugandan government and the LRA to resolve the conflicts between the two sides and to bring peace to the region. He was cross-examined by the Office of the Prosecutor and then re-examined briefly by the defense before concluding his testimony. The second defense witness, witness D-0150, also testified on the 4th of October 2018. Pursuant to Rule 74, protective measures were granted to witness D-0150, including image and voice distortions, use of pseudonyms, and recourse of private sessions. Witness D-0150 testified mostly in closed sessions with several brief open sessions. During one open session, the witness testified that he was an Ajwaka, an Acholi term used to refer to witch doctors or traditional medicine men. He explained that he became an Ajwaha after he fell ill and was healed by an Ajwaha witch doctor who performed several rituals on him, and he was able to walk again. The witness also testified about the different types of spirits such as Jwa, Tibu, and Oro. About Joseph Koin's spirits, the witness said that he had heard that Koin was possessed by spirits and that he uses spirits.
Let me ask another general question. Are there spirits which are more powerful than others?
Most spirits have equal strength, unless someone finds a way of increasing the power of the spirit. But according to my knowledge, most spirits have equal strength.
And following from that answer, Mr. Witness, is there a way the power of a spirit can be increased?
Yes, you can use some herbs as medication. You would use the herbs to improve the strength of the spirit jock.
Mr. Witness, when you were still a practicing Ajwaga, if another Ajwaga walked into this room, would you detect that he was an Ajwaga?
Yes, I would know if an Ajwaga walked here.
Mr. Witness, you have told court that most of the clans in Acholi have Jogi. Can you tell court why, if you can? Is there any reason that would be ascribed to why Koin's spirits were not controlled by other Ajwagi?
In regard to your question, I can answer this way. In reality, the other Ajwakis did not fail to bring down Kony's spirits. But Kony is a tough person. First, he started by capturing the rest of the Ajwakis. If he got you, he would kill you. And for that matter, the other Ajwakis left their place of practice and fled to town. That is why Kony was able to continue working as a powerful Ajwaka. That is what I observe.
Regarding the effects of spirits on individuals, the witness said,
that happens. This is because spirits can transform people, can determine how somebody lives, how somebody thinks. When I was still working as an Ajwaka, there are some children who would come from the bush who would be taken to a rehabilitation center after returning from captivity, and later they would be taken back to their parents. But it will not take long before they start falling sick. They can have things like head madness, or just becomes confused because he is not thinking rightly. They would take the people to hospital, but they wouldn't manage to heal, and they would bring them to me or to someone who practices like me. When I find out that he's being possessed by a spirit, I would remove the spirit from him, and he would become a healthy person, living normally. I would also ask them questions such as, while you were in the bush, did it rain on you? Did you have enough food? Why didn't you come back home? Why did you continue? They would tell me that when you're there, you'd lose interest in coming home. Something stops you from coming home. Even if you go to work close to your homestead, you lose the interest to come out. Secondly, I asked them that, what do you think would cause that? What would make you lose interest? And they all told me that they do not know. Many of them also have some herbs and some form of medication tied around them, and it is small pieces. You ask, what are these for? And they would say, this is for protection. I do believe that Kony was using the spirit in him to confuse those people so that it fulfills what he wants. This is what I believe. When he puts this spirit or confusion in you, you do as he wants. You do as he wants you to do. You don't think anymore. And you use the spirit that is in you would be the one to guide you instead.
Thank you very much. Now, let's talk about control of the mind. Can an Ajwaka use the spirit to control and control the mind of a person, and also monitor what he does?
Yes, that happens. Because to achieve his end, he will have to direct and guide someone using the powers of the spirit so that that person does exactly what he wants. That happens.
The witness confirmed that Ajuaka's witch doctors uses their powers to see into the future.
Can an Ajuaka use his spirits to prophesy or to predict what is coming ahead?
Very well. Can prophesy, can see what's going, foresee what's going to happen. I would also tell you that that is the very reason Konya has been in the bush for all this long. He would really foresee government soldiers coming to attack. He would be directed on how to go and what to do. This can only be done with the help of spirits. You'll know what is happening or what's about to happen when you have spirits.
When asked whether, with the rise of Christianity in Acholi land, individuals have stopped using spirits, the witness said that most people who followed religious beliefs still would consult with spirits much more than religion. The witness concluded his testimony after the office of the prosecutor declined to question him. The third defense witness, Adong Harriet, a traditional herbalist and a witch doctor, testified before the chamber on the 5th of October 2018. Ms. Adong testified that she is a farmer, a traditional herbalist, and an Ajuaha, a Choli term used to refer to a witch doctor. She stopped her schooling early on in life because she was disturbed by spirits. Her parents took her to medical doctors, yet nothing was detected. Later on, she was taken to an Ajuaha, a witch doctor, who performed several rituals on her. The Ajuaha witch doctor told the witness that she was possessed by 5 spirits. These 5 spirits demanded that the witness become a traditional herbalist, and so more rituals were conducted. And in 1987, she became a traditional herbalist and has been helping people who suffer from various ailments such as hunchbacks, menstrual pain, and barrenness.
Ms. Adong, did anybody before you started tell you what the functions of different herbs were? Were you taught, so to speak, how to handle this?
No, I was not aware of that. Nobody instructed me.
To follow up on the presiding judge's question, you say that no one told you how to prepare the different herbs, but I just want to ask a few questions in that regard. First, are these herbs ones that can be easily found in daily life?
Some of them are easily available, but some are extremely difficult to find because these herbs and types of medicines do not exist in each and every area. So you have to go and search for them in different areas.
So if a herb does not exist in the area that you live in, is it still a herb that you might have known as a child growing up? Can you identify it? Can anybody identify that herb?
It's not easy if the person is not knowledgeable in traditional herbs. I'm the one who tries and finds a way or means. Even if I do have to take transportation or hire a car, I will have to do this so that I can go and find the medication. Some of the herbs and the medicines are found on rocks.
So how do you know which herb to look for?
This is how I know about it. The spirit whispers to me the type of medication I need. The spirits would find the medicine and tell me that this person suffers from such and such an ailment, and this is the treatment, and the spirit informs me of this.
Does the spirit also tell you where to find those herbs that are not easy to find? For instance, the ones on rocks.
Yes, the spirit might help me, because when I'm going out to search for these medications, I'm going out with the power of the spirit. So the spirit guides me to where I can find it, and then I'll dig it or uproot it.
Regarding LRA returnees from the bush, Ms. Adong confirmed that she treated some of them because some of them returned with bad spirits of dead people that possess and haunt them. She cleansed some returnees of all the bad spirits that they possess by exorcising the spirits, and also give them herbs to heal them and make them normal again.
So am I correct in understanding that sometimes healing varies between individuals? The length of time for someone to heal may vary.
Yes, that's correct.
Do you have an explanation for why?
There are reasons for this. Spirits are different. Some other spirits are very difficult, and they are very difficult. They do not want to go away. They just want to be in this person, to possess this person, so that if possible, this person can be a killer, a very dangerous person, just the way he or she was killed. But some are okay. They will say, okay, thank you, I have now eaten. So that makes the whole healing process of the people who have been possessed different.
Now, for these people that returned from the bush, are they young people? Are they adults? Can you give us an age range of the people you have taken care of?
Some of the people that I have helped included some people who were abducted, maybe at the age of 10 years, and then they grow up in the bush in captivity, and they return. When they return, they now return at old age. Sometimes return. Some of them return at the age of 30. At various ages. So depends on the time and the age at which they were abducted, and also it depends how long the person has spent in captivity in the bush. So when they return home, they all return differently. Others old age, others younger age, like at 18 years, 20. So there are various groups of people.
In your practice, have you found a distinction between people who were abducted at a young age, let's say 10, and the effect of Chen on them?
There could be some slight difference. If the person was abducted at an early age, this person could have done so many bad things because of the being forced to do things. Because when you send a child to do something, it's like a dog that you send to do something. So if this person is abducted and forced to do some bad things, he will remain with it, and that will affect him for a longer time. But for the adults who have been abducted because of fear and because of the pressure that they are put under, they also do things that sometimes they are forced to do.
Regarding mixing religious and traditional practices, the witness confirmed that she is a practicing Catholic as well as a traditional herbalist. She also confirmed that there aren't any clashing views between the two practices, and in fact, her church members seek her medication when they are sick. Lead counsel Crispus Ayena Odongo questioned the witness briefly. The office of the prosecutor declined to question this witness, so she concluded her testimony. The fourth defense witness, Ojuya James Okot, a land conflict solver and a mediator in his community, testified before the chamber on 8th October 2018. Mr. Ojuya testified that he is currently solving land conflicts within his clan and other clans that bring reconciliation in his community. Mr. Ojuya further testified about the various conflicts in Uganda, which has brought a lot of division among people.
At that time, horrible things happened in Acholiland. First, there was forced abduction, which happened to go and fight. On the other hand, the government was forcefully evicting people from their original villages. You should leave your original village and go to a camp. These are the horrible things that happened for a long time. We were not free at all. In 1988, or rather by 1988, all the animals that were in Acholi were forcefully taken away by government because they claimed that those who owned animals, such as goats, sheep, and cattle, you were still helping the rebels. People became so poor, and people moved to the camps and started relying on food handouts from organizations. That is not the only thing that happened. The most painful thing is that when your property is forcefully removed and doesn't give it back to you, people were so angry. People got so angry, and up to now, the animals that were forcefully taken away from the Acholi community has not been compensated. Only a few people were selectively compensated. Most of the victims were not compensated. Even the rebels, those who were fighting in the bush, committed so many crimes, such as abduction, beating people, but this happens whenever there is war. A situation of war always brings suffering to the local community or the civilian. So we had that problem that we suffered. Right now, we are looking for how to solve the problem that befell us. How do we view this as elderly people? How do we solve the conflict? These are some of the things that were happening.
The witness further testified about his abductions, his escape before concluding his testimony. The office of the prosecutor didn't question this witness as well. The trial in the case of the prosecutor versus Dominic Ongwen will continue on the 22nd of October 2018 with the testimony of the fifth defense witness.